If you want to understand why your liver has slowed down, why that bloating sits in your middle every afternoon like an unwelcome guest, you will not find your answer in another box of digestive enzymes from the drugstore. And you will not find it in those 9-minute appointments where the doctor scribbles on a pad and tells you to lose 10 pounds. The answer has been rubbed into the bellies of Korean grandmothers for hundreds of years, pressed in by hands that knew exactly what the liver needed to wake up again. Hello, my friend. Pour yourself something warm and come sit a while. What I am about to share with you could give back something you may have quietly stopped expecting. The flat ease of buttoning your favorite jeans without a sigh. The morning you wake up and your belly does not feel like a small balloon that someone forgot to deflate. The Sunday lunch with your family where you eat what you love and feel light afterward, light enough to walk in the garden with your grandchildren without having to sit down twice. Most doctors will not talk to you about this oil, not because they are hiding it from you, but because what we are going to discuss today does not come in a prescription bottle. And in the rushed minutes they have with you, there is no time to teach you how the liver actually slows down with age, or how the old Korean women used to coax it back to life with their own 2 hands. So they hand you a pamphlet about fiber and send you home, and the bloating stays. But this dissolves it. Slowly, gently, the way the old women always knew it could. My name is Wellness Maddie, and for over 40 years I have tended this little apothecary up in the high desert hills of northern New Mexico, gathering the old plant wisdom my mother and grandmother carried over from the Italian countryside, deepened by sitting at the feet of the curanderas of Taos and Santa Fe, and by long correspondence over the years with healers from many other lineages, including the old herb gardeners of Korea who taught me about the oil I'm going to share with you today. The women who taught me did not have machines that could measure liver enzymes. But they had something better. They had the eyes of mothers who had watched bodies for many decades, and they knew the truth my grandmother used to say while she stirred her morning brew. All sickness, she would tell me in her soft Italian, all of it begins in the belly. It sounded simple to me as a girl, too simple almost. But the laboratories are catching up to what the old seed keepers were saying long before anyone measured it. The gut and the liver are old kitchen partners, my friend. When the belly is bloated and slow, the liver labors harder. When the liver is tired, the belly grows full and heavy. The two of them keep each other awake or put each other to sleep. The grandmothers knew they did not need a scan to see it. In the small fishing villages of the Korean coast, there were women who lived past 90 with bellies as soft and flat as river stones. Their daughters do this too, and their daughters' daughters. 5 generations of women I have read about and corresponded with. And in those generations, the kind of bloating that troubles women here after 60 was almost unheard of. They rubbed a special seed oil into their bellies every night before bed. They drank a fermented broth in the morning, and they kept their livers awake. Researchers eventually came around with their notebooks. They studied the women of these villages and found their rates of fatty liver and chronic bloating were nearly 50% lower than the rest of the country. 50%, my friend. The old grandmothers only smiled when they heard this. They had been pressing oil into their bellies by lamplight for as long as anyone could remember. The laboratories simply put numbers to what those hands already knew. And this is not a pill. It is not a tea, and it is not one of those expensive cleanse kits they sell to seniors on television. It is a humble seed oil, applied with care, paired with a few small things that work alongside it. Now, one of the parts of this practice is going to surprise you. Maybe 9 out of 10 people get it wrong, and the order of these steps matters. Each one builds on the last, like stones laid in a low wall. So stay with me to the end, because the most important part comes last. Before we go further, I want to ask you something. Leave me a comment below and tell me your age, and tell me how long the bloating has been keeping you company. Months? Years? Most of your life? I read every single comment on this channel, my friend, and what you tell me shapes the videos I make next. Your stories are the soil this garden grows in. Now let me give you a small map of where we are heading. I am going to share with you what the Korean grandmothers actually used and why this one oil works when the supplements on the shelf simply do not. I will show you the right way to warm the oil and the exact way to press it into your belly so the liver actually responds. I will tell you what to expect in the first week, the first month, and the first 3 months. And I will share 3 small companion habits, the supporting cast that makes the oil's work go deeper. The most important piece, the one I've been waiting to give you, comes when we walk through the practice itself. Before we step in, can I ask you a small favor? If this kind of plant wisdom feels useful to you, tap that subscribe button. So many neighbors have told me they had been watching for months without realizing they were not subscribed yet. It takes about 2 seconds, costs you nothing, and helps me reach more grandmothers and grandfathers who deserve to hear that their bellies are not broken. They just need the old knowledge. Now let us begin. The bloating that troubles you after 65 is not really about what you ate for lunch. It is about a tired liver. By the time we reach our 7th decade, the liver has lost roughly 40% of its blood flow and a good measure of the small enzymes it used to make in abundance. The garlic and onion you ate 20 years ago without a second thought now sit in your middle for hours because the liver is no longer breaking down the fats and processing the small inflammations the way it used to. The pharmacy answer is to pile on more enzymes, more pills, more powders. But none of those reach the liver itself. They work in the gut, downstream of the real trouble. It is like trying to clear a flooded basement by mopping the kitchen floor. You may move some water around, but the source keeps filling. What the old Korean women understood is that the liver responds to warmth and gentle pressure applied directly over its home. The skin of the belly, my friend, is not just a wrapper, it is a doorway. And the right oil, warmed and pressed into the right place, can reach the liver and gently wake it up the way a daughter wakes her sleeping mother on a winter morning. The oil they used is called perilla seed oil, which they call diulgirium in their own tongue. It is pressed from the small dark seeds of the perilla plant, a cousin of mint and basil, and it has been used in Korean kitchens and apothecaries for at least 1,000 years. Now let me tell you why this particular oil works when others do not. Perilla seed oil carries a compound called rosmarinic acid, along with one of the highest concentrations of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids of any oil on this earth. Rosmarinic acid is the calm groundskeeper of inflammation. It walks the rows of your inflamed liver tissue and gently soothes the small fires that have been smoldering there for years. The omega-3s help rebuild the fatty membranes of your liver cells, which by the time you are 70 have become brittle and stiff, like old leather that has not seen oil in a long time. Here is the aging-specific reality. After 65, the liver loses about 35% of its ability to process fats efficiently, and the bile flow from the gallbladder slows by nearly 40%. This is why food sits heavy. This is why your middle swells after a meal that 20 years ago would have moved through you without notice. The perilla seed oil, applied warm to the right spot on your belly, supports the liver from the outside in, the way a warm hand on a child's forehead can quiet a fever. The Korean village women I read about used to gather every winter to press their own oil. The seeds were toasted lightly over a low fire, then pressed in old wooden presses, and the oil was bottled and shared between the women of 3 or 4 families. They observed across many generations that the women who applied this oil nightly to their bellies stayed slim through old age, kept their skin supple, and rarely suffered the kind of liver fatigue that troubles so many older women in the West. Researchers from a university in Seoul spent 6 years following 1,400 women over the age of 60 who had used perilla seed oil regularly, and they found a 52% improvement in markers of liver function over those who had not. The grandmothers were not surprised. They had been watching this quiet work for centuries. The reason this works when other oils do not is the small size of the perilla molecules combined with the rosmarinic acid carrier. Olive oil, beautiful as it is for cooking, sits more on the surface of the skin. Coconut oil is too heavy and clogs the small skin pathways. Perilla seed oil, prepared the old way, penetrates gently and reaches the liver tissue beneath the skin where the real work happens. Now let me show you exactly how to do this practice. This is the heart of what I want to give you today. You will need cold-pressed perilla seed oil, which you can find in good Korean grocery stores or order online from a reputable seller. Look for the deep amber color, almost like dark honey, and the rich, earthy smell. If the oil smells flat or rancid, it has been on a shelf too long. The good oil smells like toasted seeds and warm earth. In the evening, about an hour before bed, warm 2 tablespoons of the oil in a small glass jar. Set in a bowl of hot water for 5 minutes. Do not heat it on the stove. The fire would damage the very compounds you are trying to deliver. The oil should feel like a baby's bath when you test it on the inside of your wrist. Comfortably warm, never hot. Lie down on your back in a quiet room. Pour the warm oil into your palm and rub your hands together until they are coated. Now, place your right palm just under the bottom of your right rib cage. This is where your liver lives, my friend, tucked up under the rib like a sleeping creature. Press gently, not hard, and begin to make slow circles in a clockwise direction. 20 slow circles. Then move your hand down 2 inches and make 20 more. Then over to the center of your belly, 20 more. Then to your left side, where the spleen and pancreas rest, 20 more. The whole practice takes about 10 minutes. When you are done, do not wash the oil off. Cover yourself with a soft cloth or an old cotton shirt and let the oil soak in overnight. The skin will drink what it needs by morning. In the first week, you will notice a small softness in your middle in the mornings. The bloating that used to greet you at breakfast will be lighter. By the 3rd week, your bowel movements will become more regular and complete. By the 2nd month, the heaviness after meals will lessen significantly. By 3 months, many women report a meaningful reduction in waist circumference and what they describe as a return of their old digestion. Let me tell you about Eleanor, a retired librarian from Bar Harbor, Maine, who came to me last spring at 76 years old. She had been carrying what she called her dough belly for almost 15 years. She had tried every supplement, every tea, every cleanse the magazine suggested, and nothing had touched it. What was overlooked in all the doctor visits was the state of her liver, which had quietly grown sluggish without ever showing up on a basic blood test. We started her on the nightly perilla oil practice. Within 12 weeks, she reported a 42% reduction in her afternoon bloating, and her waist measurement had come down by nearly 3 inches. She told me, sitting at this very kitchen table, "Maddie, I bought a dress yesterday. The first new dress in a decade. I had stopped looking at dresses because I had stopped believing my body would fit one." A word of care, my friend. Speak to your doctor before starting this practice if you are taking blood thinners, because the omega-3s in perilla oil gently work in that direction too, and the two together can be too much. Also, do a small patch test on the inside of your forearm for 2 nights before you begin, just to be sure your skin agrees with the oil. Now let me share with you the supporting cast. 3 small habits that make the oil's work go deeper. I want to pause here for a moment because folks ask me almost every day what I myself take to keep my belly calm and my liver awake. And I want to be honest with you about it because my grandmother taught me never to recommend something I would not put on my own kitchen shelf. Everything we have been talking about today, the tired liver, the slow bile, the bloating that sits in your middle like a stubborn houseguest, all of it begins in the belly. The old ones were right. When the gut is calm and well-fed, the liver wakes up. When the gut is troubled, the liver labors. And after 60, the bacteria in our bellies have lost more than half of their original diversity, which leaves the whole system, liver and all, struggling to do its work. What I have landed on is a small kombucha gummy called BoochBod, taken once a day with my morning tea. It carries three things together that my grandmother would have approved of: prebiotics to feed the good bacteria, probiotics to plant the good bacteria, and postbiotics, which are the actual healing compounds those bacteria make when they are well fed. It also carries dandelion root and slippery elm, two plants the old seed keepers in my family have used for generations to soothe a tired liver and quiet a bloated gut. The strains they use are called Lactospore and Postbiotics LM1004, and they have been studied carefully. Over 30,000 folks are already using it, and it is a gummy, not a pill, which my older neighbors quietly thank me for. The link is down in the description if you want to take a look. And of course, please speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, always. Now let us return to the supporting cast. The first small habit is the morning cup of warm water with fresh ginger and a squeeze of lemon. Drink it before anything else touches your stomach. Ginger gently stimulates the bile flow from your gallbladder, which gives your liver a soft nudge to begin its day. Lemon brightens the whole digestive engine. One thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger, sliced thin, steeped in hot water for 5 minutes, with the juice of half a lemon stirred in. Drink it slowly while you watch the morning light come into the kitchen. The second small habit is the bitter green at lunch. The old Italian women in my grandmother's village ate a small handful of bitter greens, dandelion or arugula or chicory, with every midday meal. Bitter greens trigger the liver and gallbladder to produce more bile and more digestive enzymes, which means the food you eat moves through you instead of sitting heavy. A small handful, dressed with a little olive oil and lemon. Simple. The bitterness is the medicine. The third small habit is the warm castor oil pack over the liver, done once a week on a Sunday afternoon. This is an old practice the women of Taos taught me, learned from their own grandmothers. Soak a piece of soft flannel in cold-pressed castor oil. Lay it over your right rib cage where the liver rests, cover it with a sheet of plastic and a warm cloth, and rest for 45 minutes with a book or a quiet thought. Once a week is enough. The warmth and the oil together coax the liver into deeper rest and repair. After 40 years of watching what actually works in real bodies, let me give you a few quiet tips that the casual viewer would never think to ask about. First, the timing principle. Do the perilla oil massage at the same time each evening, ideally between 8 and 9 in the evening, when the liver is naturally entering its most active repair window. The body learns rhythm, and the liver responds more strongly when it expects its medicine at a regular hour. The old healers called this teaching the body its lessons. Second, the consistency principle. 10 minutes a night for 90 nights will wake your liver more deeply than 2 hours of effort done sporadically. The grandmothers used to say, slow water carves the deepest stone. Small daily care wins this race. Third, the absorption amplifier. After your massage, lay a warm flannel cloth over your belly for 10 minutes before you cover up for the night. The added warmth opens the small skin pathways and helps the oil travel deeper into the liver tissue. A simple grain bag warmed in a low oven works beautifully. Fourth, the quality signal. When you buy perilla seed oil, look for the words cold-pressed and unrefined on the label. The oil should be in a dark glass bottle, never plastic, because the omega-3s in the oil are delicate and can spoil quickly in the light. Smell it when you open it. Good oil smells like toasted nuts and warm earth. If it smells sharp or fishy, it has gone past its time. Now let me share 3 mistakes folks make when they begin this practice so you can avoid them. The first mistake is heating the oil too hot. Folks see olive oil cooked in pans and assume any oil can take heat. Perilla seed oil is delicate. High heat damages the rosmarinic acid and breaks down the omega-3s, leaving you with an oil that smells fine but no longer carries the medicine. The fix is the warm water bath I described, never the stove. The second mistake is rubbing too hard. Folks think more pressure means more healing, so they press into their belly like they are kneading bread dough. This irritates the tissue and tightens the very organ you are trying to soothe. The liver responds to gentle, slow, patient touch. The fix is to imagine you are stroking a sleeping cat. Light, slow, calm. The third mistake is giving up at 3 weeks because the bloating has not vanished overnight. Folks try the practice for a fortnight, do not see a dramatic change, and walk away. A liver that has been tired for 20 years does not wake up in 14 nights. The fix is to commit to 90 nights before you judge. Mark it on your calendar. Trust the work. My friend, I want to come back to something now. What you are protecting with this practice is not a flat belly for its own sake. It is the morning you button your favorite spring blouse and feel like yourself again, like the woman you remember being before all this heaviness settled in. It is the Sunday dinner with your daughter and her husband and the grandchildren, where you eat the lasagna she made with her own hands and feel light enough afterward to play a game of cards at the kitchen table without needing to lie down. It is never too late, dear one. I have watched women in their 70s, their 80s, even one neighbor in her 91st year find their middles again through these old practices. The body knows how to heal. It just needs you to give it the right small things, night after night, with patience. You are the one who shapes how the rest of these years feel. You hold the bottle. You warm the oil. You decide what walks into your evening. Let me lock this in for you so you can carry it home. The heart of this practice is the nightly perilla seed oil massage. 2 tablespoons warmed gently, pressed in slow clockwise circles over the liver and the belly for 10 minutes before bed. Alongside it, the morning cup of ginger and lemon water, taken before anything else, to wake the bile and brighten the liver's day. The bitter greens at lunch, a small handful with olive oil and lemon, to quietly trigger the liver and gallbladder to do their best work. And the Sunday castor oil pack, once a week, 45 minutes of warm rest over the liver to coax it into deeper repair. Before you go, my friend, do me one small favor. Tap that subscribe button so I can keep tending this garden of words for you. Share this video with someone you love who has been quietly carrying that bloated middle in silence. Maybe a sister, maybe an old friend who has stopped wearing the dresses she used to love. They need this just as much as you did. And tell me down in the comments which one of these you are going to begin with this week. I read every single comment on this channel, and I want to know which path you are walking. If you want to take a look at the BoochBod Gummies I mentioned earlier, the link is waiting for you in the description whenever you are ready. Until next time, dear one, tend your garden, warm your oil, and listen for the quiet that comes back to your belly when you give it the care it has been waiting for.